Would you rather study English with a boring grammar book, or would you prefer to improve your English with us on this podcast? Today, you'll learn how to use rather and prefer. Welcome to
Aprender Inglés con Reza y Craig.
Hello, I'm Reza.
And I'm Craig.
And with over 45 years of teaching experience between us, we'll help you improve your English and take it up to the next level. Hi, Craig. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. And how are you?
I'm very well indeed. Very well.
Do you know, I'd rather be doing this than anything else today.
Me too. Me too. I'd prefer to podcast all day long, but they won't let me.
So we're talking about rather and prefer today. If you're a new listener, you're very, very welcome. But before that, we have some audio feedback from Leandro speaking about the IELTS exam.
Hi, Rosa and Greg. I want to say to you guys, congratulations for your podcast. I really enjoy. So I discovered you guys on Spotify. So since that, you guys make me company every day from home to work and working to home. So thanks so much. But I have a question for you. That's a little question. What do you guys think? What are the advice for the people that have done the IELTS for a couple of times and did achieve the score that they need? You advise them to change the exam, for example, Cambridge or FCE or no FCE or another one, maybe TOEFL, or what's your advice for the people have done IELTS for a couple of times and did achieve their goals? Thanks so much, and I hope you guys still, continues doing the podcast because I really, really like. I have learned a lot, and I'm still learning, of course. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Leandro. It's a pleasure to get your message. I'm really pleased we're helping you with your English. Thank you for listening, and thank you for listening on Spotify. Some people don't know that you can find us on Spotify also. So if you do have Spotify on your mobile phone or tablet, you can search for Inglés Podcast, and when you're bored with music, you can listen to us. Any comments on Leandro's message, Reza?
It was a very good message, Leandro. Thank you very much. And generally, your pronunciation wasn't bad. Although I did notice a little grammar mistake. You said that you really like, and also you really enjoy. You mean the podcast. So with like and enjoy, we have to have an object. So you should say, I really like it, or I really enjoy it. You have to add the object it.
Also, a collocation error, Leandro. You said make me company. The collocation with company is keep. Keep. So to keep, it keeps me company. The podcast keeps me company. When I'm running, when I'm in the car, when I'm walking around by myself, the podcast really keeps me company. And another thing you said, from home to work, from work to home, you could say on my commute, because when you commute, you travel from where you live to your work or your university. So you're commuting. You're traveling from your place of work to your home or vice versa. Or you could say on my way to work. That expression, on my way to work. So the podcast entertains me. The podcast keeps me company on my way to work. But, interesting question, eh? What about IELTS? You teach IELTS quite regularly. What's your opinion?
Yeah, it's a good question, Leandro. I understand you didn't get the mark you would have liked. So IELTS, just to remind everybody, or maybe if you don't know, you're hearing it for the first time, You don't pass or fail IELTS. It's a test, not an exam. So you're given a mark, and that is your level of English.
It's like a grade, isn't it? You get a number?
A grade from 0 to 9. The maximum is 9 for each skill: reading, writing, speaking, and listening. And then they take an average as well. So you don't pass or fail. So Leandro wanted to get a certain mark, I suppose, and he hasn't. So he hasn't failed. He just didn't get the level as his desired result. And he asks, should I then do another exam? Well, Leandro, it depends what you want the qualification for, I would say. So IELTS is useful in a general sense, but it's particularly useful if you're thinking of emigrating to a country where they require a minimum level of English to give you the visa to get into the country, or maybe because your employer wants you to show that you have a certain level of English. Also, for academic reasons, IELTS is typical. So if you're going to study in a university or a similar institution, they often say you should have IELTS level whatever, 6.5 in general, but no lower than a 6 in reading, for example, that type of thing. But sometimes they accept a different qualification. They might accept, for example, a Cambridge Advanced or First Certificate exam, depending on the level you want. So it depends. If you need to get a visa or you're going to study at university or for a job, if I were you, Leandro, I think I would continue to do the IELTS. I would try it again. But if that's not why you're doing the exam, if that's not a condition, well, why don't you try a Cambridge exam, depending on your level, maybe advanced, possibly first certificate. The thing is, with the IELTS, there's no fixed level. It's just one exam and everybody does it. Everybody from beginners, if they really want, right up to really advanced. You just do did I say exam? Sorry, the test, I forgot. And they tell you your result. Whereas with Cambridge exams, if you think you're round about a B2, kind of upper intermediate, you do the first certificate. If you think you're round about C1 advanced, do the advanced.
And if you want to know your level, on our website, we do have a level test that will give you an idea if you're B1, B2, C1. You can find that at mansioningles.com. One thing I would say, if you decide to take a Cambridge exam, the minimum you'd really need in the world of work is the B2 first exam. So take the test on the website, see where you are, where your level is, and then perhaps, as Reza said, that's an option to take the B2 first Cambridge exam. We do have more information about IELTS, that we've spoken about IELTS on a different podcast in the past. Just go to the website and search IELTS in the search box.
I just give you one more piece of advice, Leandro, and everybody. They don't tell you this, but the Cambridge exams are in theory valid for life. So if you passed the proficiency exam, let's say C2 proficiency in 1998, well, it's still valid today. In theory. However, when you, for example, apply to go to a university in the United Kingdom, they might say, yeah, we'll accept proficiency if you passed it in the last 2 or 3 or 4 years.
So it depends who you're applying to.
Yeah.
Okay.
So although it is legally valid, universities often don't accept the Cambridge exams if they're not recent. But it's the same for the IELTS. In fact, the IELTS used to expire after a couple of years. But I think now they're changing that and the IELTS are going to be valid for longer. But in reality, it's going to be the same. If you haven't done it recently, they might not recognize it.
Next, we have some audio feedback from Fabricio from Nicaragua.
Hi, Rosa and Craig. I'm Fabrizio from Nicaragua. I am a new listener of your podcast. And actually, the first one that I heard was about homograph. And I had to say that I love it because it's a great topic. On behalf of all your listeners, I want to say thank you because the great work that you already done. So thank you guys and bye bye.
Thank you, Fabricio. Wonderful message. Thanks very much for getting in touch. And we welcome you and all new listeners. It's wonderful that our community is growing with new people every week. Any comments, Reza?
Thanks very much, Fabricio. And a big thank you to all our listeners in Nicaragua and all over Central America and all over Latin America. And in fact, all over the world.
Everywhere.
Everywhere. We got listeners in Italy, Russia.
India.
I'm not making it up. India, Brazil.
Sweden.
You'd be surprised.
Finland.
Surprised. And even as far away as Valencia. No, we're in Valencia now. Fabricio, you thanked us for the podcast, but you didn't say that. You said thank you, or I can't remember exactly your words, but let's say thank you because of, not because of, thank you for the podcast. You thank somebody for something.
And thank you, Fabricio, for listening. Moving on to the main topic of this week's episode, rather and prefer. Both rather and prefer, both of them mean to like better. But what's the difference in grammar? Let's have a look at two examples. I'd rather have tea. I'd prefer to have tea. Did you hear the difference? Listen again. I'd rather have tea. I'd prefer to have tea. What's the difference, Reza?
Two.
Yep.
So with prefer to and with rather no to. In other words, rather is followed by the infinitive without to, also called the base form or the bare infinitive, whereas prefer is followed by an infinitive with to.
I'll tell you something. I'd rather live in Spain than in the UK. What about you?
Yes, I definitely would. And particularly, I think, in the post-Brexit world.
Is there anywhere you'd rather live than here in Valencia? If you could choose? Notice I contracted you would rather to you'd rather. Is there anywhere you'd rather live than here in Valencia?
I have no strong desire to live anywhere else. But I'm open to suggestions. I don't have to stay here the rest of my life. I might not. I'm not quite sure. What about you?
There are a couple of countries that interest me. I think I'd rather live in a place like New Zealand or Australia or Canada. I don't think I'd rather live in a non-Spanish or non-English speaking country because I don't feel like learning another language. But perhaps Canada, maybe a Scandinavian country like Denmark, Sweden or Norway will be interesting. But I definitely prefer to live in Valencia than London.
Me too. London, a great place to visit, but I'm not a big city kind of guy. I don't really like big cities. Mm-hmm. So Valencia for me is nice because it's not too big. So yeah, I'd prefer Valencia.
So again, those two examples, I'd rather live in Spain than in the UK, or I'd prefer to live, infinitive with to, I'd prefer to live in Valencia than London.
Craig, what do you want for lunch today?
I'd rather not have fish.
He'd rather not have fish.
I've had fish 3 times this week. I had fish when I was in hospital the week before, and I had fish 3 times this week. I'm sick and tired of fish, so I'd rather not have fish.
So if you want to make a negative, simply put not between rather and the verb. He'd rather not have fish. Craig, do you like working on Saturdays?
No, I don't. I'd prefer not to work on Saturdays. So that's the negative with prefer. I'd prefer not to work on Saturdays.
So he put not after prefer and before to. Prefer, not to.
And notice with rather, we often use would. So I would rather. And as I said before, we contract the would to say I'd. So I'd rather. And listen to the pronunciation. The D of I'd and the R of rather come together. So I'd rather. I'd rather. I'd rather have tea, for example. I'd rather live in Valencia.
You may have heard the word rather before, but a different use. For example, I rather like those biscuits. I didn't use would there. I just said I rather, not I would. So I'll repeat. I rather like those biscuits. Or it's rather cold today. I'm not talking about preferences here. It doesn't mean prefer. It just means quite. I quite like those biscuits. Or it's quite cold today. So quite, bastante.
Hey Rezo, I rather like those shoes you're wearing. Are they new?
Oh, thank you, but no, they're not new. I've had them for a while.
Okay.
So he rather likes them. He likes them. Oh, bastante.
Bastante. Moving on to prefer, let's speak about prefer. Prefer can be followed by an infinitive with to, it can be followed by a gerund, or simply a noun. For example, here is prefer with an infinitive. I prefer to drink coffee in the morning and tea in the afternoon. That's prefer plus a verb. What about you, Reza? Do you prefer to drink? What do you prefer to drink in the morning?
I prefer to drink tea first thing in the morning and coffee in the afternoon.
But you usually have coffee when we break between podcasts, and that's usually in the morning.
Mid-morning as well.
So you prefer to drink coffee mid-morning?
Mid-morning or afternoon, but not first thing in the morning. The first cup has to be tea for me if I get to choose.
Made in a teapot.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Yeah, I prefer to drink coffee in the morning and tea. I don't know why. Tea in the afternoon.
Craig, what about your choice of biscuits?
Good question. We've spoken about biscuits before, haven't we? I prefer chocolate biscuits to plain ones. Notice the use of the preposition there too. Prefer something to something else. The noun biscuits or chocolate biscuits, I prefer chocolate biscuits to plain ones or plain biscuits.
Here's another example. This time in the past, she preferred to drink tea. I preferred tea to coffee. To coffee. What's this to? Well, I'm using the preposition to, not the infinitive to. This time, the preposition to with prefer. I'll repeat that. She preferred to drink tea. That's infinitive, to drink. I preferred tea to coffee. In the second sentence, tea to coffee, that's the preposition to. So you can use preposition to when you're comparing the two things. I prefer tea to coffee. Or they preferred butter to olive oil. They must have been British.
What do you prefer on your toast? Do you prefer to put olive oil or butter on your toast?
It depends how the fancy takes me.
What does that mean?
I'm capricious. So I am a big fan of butter on warm toast, not cold, by the way.
Oh, it must be warm or hot toast, definitely.
Must be warm or hot. because
Otherwise, it doesn't melt, doesn't go inside the
Exactly.
bread.
I'd rather it melts. You know, I don't want it solid there.
No.
But olive oil on bread and toast is very nice. I do like it sometimes. It depends how I feel. And it depends on the bread as well. For wholemeal bread, that's integral, butter,
Yeah.
I think. But for white bread, can be butter, can be olive oil. Yeah, but for wholemeal and kind of dark breads, I think butter works better on the whole.
I've got used to olive oil on bread. When I first came to Spain, I didn't like it. I didn't like the thought of olive oil on. I had to have butter. I couldn't have olive oil. It just made me, oh no, it doesn't go together. But with time, over the years, I've really become used to having toast with olive oil, and now I love it in the morning. That is my breakfast. Olive oil with hot toast.
Healthy breakfast. Craig, is there anything you can say to cheer me up? Because today I've got to get home and there's a bus strike.
Oh, that's right. The buses are on strike. Strike is huelga. So yeah, in Valencia today we have a bus strike. Well, I think, Reza, you'll prefer walking to taking the bus.
Why?
You'll be waiting a long, long time, maybe 2 hours for a bus. You'll prefer walking to taking the bus. Here's an example of prefer in the future with will. It's contracted. I think you'll prefer walking to taking the bus. Don't you agree?
I think you're right.
So we hope we have clarified the difference between prefer and would. Let's use some of these in context now. We're going to have a discussion, Reza and I think I have some questions here with would you rather, would you prefer, etc. But it might be more interesting if we tried to predict what the other person thinks or says about each question before they answer, because we know each other fairly well, and I think we have a pretty good idea of what we might say. What do you think? Would you rather do that, or would you prefer to do it differently?
No, I think I'll go with your idea.
Yeah. Okay, so the first question is, Reza, would you rather be too busy or be too bored? I'm going to guess you'll say busy. So, Reza, what would you rather be, too busy or too bored?
I'd rather be too bored.
Really?
Yeah, because in reality, I wouldn't be bored. For me, it's kind of a false situation, because if I was bored, I would just give myself something to do. Mm-hmm. I don't like being bored, so I find something to do. But if you're too busy, well, you have no choice but to do the things that you already have to do.
So do you then never get bored?
Very rarely. Yeah. Very, very rarely.
You're lucky.
Because I find something to do. So I'd definitely be too bored.
That surprised me.
In the last 2 or 3 weeks, I've been a bit irritated, to be honest, because I've been too busy. Mm-hmm. And it's bothered me. I've had lots of obligations that I've had to meet.
You've had more classes recently.
More classes and other things. And it's kind of annoyed me that I've had no time at all to get bored. Quite the opposite. So...
That's interesting. I'd rather be too busy, but okay.
Boredom is not a thing that happens to me, really.
It's not in your vocabulary.
No, because I don't allow myself to get bored. Mm-hmm. I'll invent something to do. But I don't need somebody else to tell me how to do it.
Let's move to the next one.
Craig, a very appropriate question for you. we record in Craig's flat, so here's the question. Would you prefer to have nosy neighbours or noisy neighbours?
What's the difference? What's a nosy neighbour?
So nosy, N-O-S-Y, they stick their nose in things. They always want to know what you're doing. Or noisy, N-O-I-S-Y. They make a lot of noise. They make a lot of sound.
Well, that's an easy thing to answer. As a podcaster, and perhaps you hear some banging during this episode, noisy neighbours are very, very frustrating. So I would much prefer to have a nosy neighbour who keeps asking me personal questions, because then I just say, ¿por qué me preguntas? And I just don't answer.
Yeah.
Why do you ask?
Yeah. You could say it's none of your business.
What about you?
The same, because you can't stop the noise, but you don't have to answer the nosy neighbour. So, yeah.
So the next question is, Reza, would you rather be a little late or way too early? Way too early means very, very, very early. I'm going to guess you will say a little late.
Yeah.
Not too late, but a little late.
Yeah, as long as it's just a little late. A little late. But I don't like to be very late. I don't think many people do. But a little late is better than way too early. But For me, the best thing is to be slightly or a little too early, but not way too early.
And what's the expression when you arrive exactly at the time you are expected?
Well, you're on time.
On time, correct.
I have to tell you, Craig is normally more on time than me. He's a fairly punctual person. Would you agree?
I'd like to be a little early, not too early, a little early, and I'd prefer to be a little early than a little late, definitely.
I've got a question for Craig, and I'm going to try and guess the answer myself.
Oh, let's see.
Would you prefer an unlimited gift certificate to a restaurant or a clothing shop?
So I can spend any amount of money in either of those two places? What do you think?
I think restaurant.
Nope.
I think. No? Oh, dear.
No, I'd rather have money to spend on clothes than in a restaurant, because I think there's a limit in a restaurant of how much to pay for good food. And I think if a restaurant's going to be 4, 5, 6, maybe 700 euros and maybe 1,000 euros for a bottle of wine, I don't understand why you would pay that much money for food. So definitely a clothing shop. What about you? I would say restaurant for you.
Yeah, just because I don't like shopping for clothes, to be honest.
Okay, next one. Would you rather have a horrible job but be able to retire comfortably maybe in 10 years or 5 years? Or have your dream job, the job of a lifetime, but you have to work until the day you die? So that's the choice. Would you rather have a horrible job and hate it but retire early? Or a wonderful, fantastic job, but you always work until you die?
Good question. What do you think?
I don't know. That's difficult. I'm going to guess, I think it's important to you to have a job you like, so I'm going to guess a dream job and work until the day you die.
You think I'll go for the dream job?
I think so, yeah, because I think it's important to you what you do for a living.
You're right. I would.
Yeah.
And I
me
think
too.
you would too, yeah?
Yeah. In fact, I'd prefer not to retire. I don't know what I would do if I retired. So I think I'd prefer not ever to retire if I can continue in good health working until I die.
Well, that makes sense because remember, Craig said he'd rather be too busy than too bored. So that ties in with that.
Next one.
Craig, would you prefer a rewind button or a pause button on your life? So rewind, in other words, you can go back and live things differently. Or a pause button, which means stop for a while before you go.
So if I get to a part of my life that's really, really good, I can keep enjoying it.
Yeah.
I pause it.
Pause it and keep living that moment. But you can't go back. After that, you'll have to go forward again. Or rewind, go back and do things differently in the past.
How far back can I go?
As far as you like.
So rewind button. Yeah. Oh, I didn't ask you what you. So what do you think, Reza? What do you think I'd choose?
I think you'd go for the rewind button. Something tells me you would go for the rewind button.
I think you're right.
I just have a suspicion.
How did you know that? How did you know that? What about you?
The same.
The same.
Yeah.
Would you rather be able to talk with the animals, like Dr. Dolittle? I don't know if Dr. Dolittle is the same in Spanish. It's the man who can speak to the animals. Or speak all foreign languages in the world. So you could travel anywhere and speak to the people fluently in any country in the world. Or you can speak to dogs and horses and dolphins.
Oh, that really is a dilemma. That's a very good question because I would love to be able to speak all foreign languages. I really would. But I also would really love to know what animals are thinking.
Shall I tell you my prediction?
What do you think?
Animals. I'm guessing animals. I think you'd like to know what Coco's thinking.
Yeah. Although very often I do, but not always. He's not always. When he doesn't want to let me know, he can hide his feelings. And I wish I could just ask him.
Just imagine if you could speak to flies, You could send a fly to somebody's house and be a fly on the wall, and then they'd come back and tell you what they heard.
Yeah, I guess you could. Yeah. Although I'm not sure, you could get into a lot of arguments though. Imagine speaking fly language. I think I'd probably be. I spend a lot of time arguing, saying, "Look, must you guys really hang around, dirty places and come into my house? Can't you go somewhere else?" You'd be having lots of arguments with them, right? Or bees, bees and wasps coming around. Can't you just buzz off? Pardon the pun. Why have you come here to annoy me? Just go somewhere else.
Yeah. Hey, fly, get out of that soup.
Well, hold on. What about you? Speak to the animals or the language?
Definitely the animals. Yeah, definitely the animals. It'd be so interesting to know what animals are thinking, if they do think.
Because I think animals are more honest. I mean, you might speak every foreign language imaginable, but people lie a lot. I get the feeling that animals would tell the truth.
And you could say to a dog in the street, "Hey, do me a favor. Can you bite that man who's double parked and parked badly on the street? Can you just bite him for me?"
You could say there's a biscuit in it for you,
Yeah.
Good motivation.
Next one.
Okay, Craig. Would you prefer to spend the night in a luxury hotel room or camping surrounded by beautiful scenery?
What do you think?
I think now.
Yep, I think you've got it. I think you've got it.
You know what I'm going to say?
Yeah.
No, because at the moment you don't have that rewind button in your life.
Correct.
So now the luxury hotel.
Yes.
But if you had the rewind button, you might go back 30 or 40 years and go for the beautiful scenery.
Maybe not that far back, but maybe 20 years. But yeah, I think I'd probably prefer a luxury hotel. What about you?
Do I have to pay for the hotel?
No.
Then the hotel.
Would you prefer, Reza, to be too hot or too cold? Now, coming from Belfast, I'm thinking probably too cold.
Yeah, because we're fairly used to that there.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not Iceland, it's not Norway, but very rarely do we feel too hot in Belfast. So it's a feeling I'm not used to in Belfast, although I have experienced it in Valencia and it's very unpleasant. It depends how extreme you're talking, If you're talking like too cold, like minus 30 degrees below zero, I wouldn't like to feel that cold for a long time. Mm-hmm. But generally speaking, if you're too cold, put on more clothes, put on heating, and there's a solution.
Yeah.
But if you're too hot, sometimes there's nothing you can do about it.
I can remember years ago traveling in Vietnam. I was in Hanoi, and it was in the middle of the high humidity, the hottest part of the summer, and I was so hot, I just could not breathe. I had to find a shopping mall, a shopping center, to look for some air conditioning. I could not walk in the street for longer than half an hour. It was just too hot. It was horrible. So yeah, I agree with you.
Craig, would you prefer to hear good news or bad news first? So you're in that situation when they say, I've got some good news and I've got some bad news. Which one do you want to hear first? Well,
good question. What do you think?
Difficult to put myself.
And you know me fairly well.
Well, I know what I would think. I know I would want to hear the bad news first. I think you too. I think you'd go for the bad news first and have the good news to end on a high note.
Exactly. And also to know how bad things are. So yeah, I'd much rather have the bad news first. Okay, Reza, would you rather be your own boss, work for yourself, or work for someone else? And I think I know the answer to this. I think you'd prefer to work for someone else.
No.
Really?
No way. You couldn't be more wrong.
That surprises me.
You couldn't be more wrong. I'd far rather be my own boss.
So why aren't you?
Fear of economic failure, fear of having to do a lot of hard work and not get much back in return. Mm-hmm. So I guess because I'm a coward, un cobarde, but I would far rather, for example, imagine I somehow obtained quite a lot of money that I could set up my own business. I would do it without thinking. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't think twice. Does that surprise you?
It does surprise me. I thought that you really value your time so even though the rewards of being your own boss are higher, and obviously the independence comes with that, but the amount of work and time you have to invest in making a business successful, you would prefer to spend having free time and relaxing and doing other things, hobbies.
No, that's not my case, because it's not the same for me at all to work for myself, for my own benefit, than to work for other people. Yeah, it's very irritating, or I find it very irritating, to have to work long hours and be employed by other people. Yeah, I'd far rather work short hours. But work long hours and I'm employed by myself, and if I make lots of money, the money goes to me. That's a different question altogether. I'd far rather have that.
Interesting.
You'd rather definitely work for yourself.
Yes.
Well, you do basically most of the time.
I am 50-50. I do and I don't. And I agree with you. I think that's a much better place to be in. But what about you, listener? What would you prefer to do? Work for yourself, or be your own boss, or work for someone else? Now, all of these questions are on our website. You can find them at inglespodcast.com/248. We'd love to hear your opinion on any or all of these questions. Just send us your voice messages. But before we tell you how to do that, I think there's one final question, isn't there, Reza?
Yes, a very, very important question for Craig. Would you rather be Mickey Mouse or Donald Duck?
What do you think?
What do I think? There's
have a guess.
absolutely no competition. Mickey, of course.
Of course, he gets a higher salary. He's the star. He gets paid more. He's got more fans on Facebook. And I don't like the name Donald for obvious reasons.
And what's more, Mickey has a normal voice. I mean, you wouldn't want that.
Okay, you can clean the microphone later. Now it's your turn to practice your English. As I said, please tell us your opinion. Practice the grammar and the expressions prefer and rather, and give us your opinion on some of those questions. You can send your audio via SpeakPipe at speakpipe.com/inglespodcast, or send us an email with a comment or question, maybe an idea for a future episode, to me, Craig, at inglespodcast.com.
Or me, belfastreza@gmail.com.
And if you're interested in courses, in English courses, especially for download to your computer or mobile phone, don't forget to visit our online store at store.mansioningles.net.
Thank you, as always, to all our wonderful patrons. Who are they? Well, they're the people who are supporting the podcast on the Patreon website. That's patreon.com. Patreon website. You could join them. Just click on the link we've got to patreon.com/inglespodcast. And for no more than $1 a month, you can gain access to recent transcriptions of all our latest episodes. As ever, thank you to Angelica Bello for doing that.
Yes, thank you, Angelica. And apart from a very, very long list of our wonderful co-producers and supporters, we have a gold sponsor, our friend Bruno, who runs walking tours of the city of Copenhagen in Denmark. And you can do those tours in English and Spanish. Find more information at copenhagenwalkingtour.com. And if you prefer, or if you'd rather go to Rio, you can do Bruno's tour of the favela area, which is led by local guides. It's a very safe, interesting, and educational tour, and helps the community to improve their daily needs. For more information, go to Bruno's website at favelawalkingtour.com.br.
You can get the complete list of all our Patreon sponsors on the website, but we'd like to mention just one name, because that's our most recent sponsor, who just joined this month. So thank you and welcome to Mercedes Domingo. But a big thank you to all of you.
And on next week's episode, we'll be speaking about irreversible binomials. What are they? Well, you'll have to listen next week to find out. That was short and sweet, wasn't it, Reza?
Short and sweet.
Short and sweet, that's an example.
Binomial. A binomial.
So until next week, it's goodbye from Reza.
And bye-bye from Craig.
The music in this podcast is by Pitts. The track is called See You Later.
Today, you'll learn how to use rather and prefer.
Welcome. Oh. Sorry. I don't know why I jumped in there.
I was going to just do welcome to and then leave it.
Sorry. No. That was my mistake. Go back to today. You'll learn.